law doesn't work like that. And there was a huge brouhaha over that statement, to the fact that some of the people who kind of were with him were actually had been on some kind of payroll for my competitor. So none of this went over well, and finally they had to just turn the whole matter over to the zoning commission to come up with a recommendation, and they tabled it right there because of all the hoopla that was going on. The zoning commission came to us for 2 months. We talked. They came to my place on more than one occasion, and they learned what we did and how we did it. 2 months later, they came back, and by the way, we had an agreement. Whether we liked it or not, we agreed that Canada Recycling would voluntarily close in 5 years. That would give my wife and I enough time to financially stable ourselves so we could reduce some of the debt that we were in. It seemed fair. We didn't like it, but we accepted it, and it gave us enough time to do so. They came back and made that proposal. I thought it was over, a done deal. Didn't even bring my attorney with me. All of a sudden, this same councilman stands up and, excuse my French, shit cans that plan, and he says, no, the law says you only have 2 years to do it, and we're going to give you 2 years, and you're going to be out of here. Now, this same councilman over and over and over has been our adversary. I looked in some history to find out how many businesses he or the council had actually closed for zoning. You better look hard and deep, because if there's any, I couldn't find them. We were the first ones. In fact, they had to kind of manipulate the rules and the law to apply to us so they could do this. All this is an example of the good old boys getting together and having the authority to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Cleveland is in a unique position right now because that good old boy and the mayor are both leaving. That leaves openings for someone who is very, very, very objective, which is me, and a couple of other guys I have who are running in this position I think would be good too. Also, I've become friends with Dwayne, who's running for the mayorship. I had a funny thing happen the other day. I was going to work, and I see this little stubby man standing on the side of the street alone with these signs. And I couldn't believe it's him actually holding his own signs, doing it himself. So I turned around and went back and introduced myself and wished him well. He wished me well. He gave me a couple signs. I put them out in front of my business. But here's the man who I got to believe wants to be mayor, because he's literally out there by himself, for himself, waving flags. No staff, no nothing. At 7 o'clock in the morning on Lee Highway. That impressed me. So Cleveland, to kind of wrap this up, and I'm sure they'll have some questions for me. To wrap this up, we have an opportunity here to get a new mayor who's very objective. We have an opportunity to get a new councilman that I hope, if it's not me, will be someone who can be very objective. And the balance of power on that board can be stabilized. For the since ever I've been there, it's been a slam bam, thank you ma'am type of thing, and that's that. So the vote's coming up. You have a unique opportunity. I strongly push you to get Dwayne in there. He's not a politician. As you know, the other one is all politician, and a lot of money, a lot of backing, and Dwayne needs your support, and I certainly hope he and I get your vote. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
All right, Larry. Well, you had alluded in the forum, and I had heard around and about that you had some sort of issue that had caused you to enter the race, and I appreciate you coming in today and sort of fleshing that out a little bit for us. What do you feel like you're going to do if elected? What are you going to do? What need do you see the city of Cleveland have, the greatest need that it has, and what are you going to do to address it?
I have to admit my shortcomings. Not being in politics, not being involved in that, I have a lot to learn. And in the last forum, I admitted a time or two that I really wasn't up to snuff on some of this stuff, and I still am not. However, like I said, I have very good friends on the council who mentor me, and I expect to catch up pretty quick.
All right. Very good. Well, Tom, if we invite callers to call in and ask Larry a question or two, 614-5553,
Yeah,
614-5553.
we're live in the studio.
Yep. And Larry Bagata, Can Man.
We got a caller right now. There we go. Caller, you're live on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom.
Well, I'm glad he's on the show this morning and brings things out. One thing, I'd like to say something about Mr. Johnson. When they didn't elect him again, he'd been pro-mayor there for several years. And, they had a right to put whoever they wanted on there. But talking about Mr. Johnson, then he came back and said, it was discrimination what caused that. And I didn't like that, don't appreciate that, never have brought it up. But they've got a right to put whoever they want on there. And just because he's on the council don't mean he's got that seat for life, or as long as he's on there. And he did take a big risk, Mr. Johnson did, when he ran in another district, and he won, and that's good. He's a good man. But don't bring the race issue into it when he's been elected for so many years.
Yeah,
That opened up the seat for Tom to run. Tom,
it opened the seat for me to run and get into office, and I've got a good relationship with all the council people on there and try to get along. I think working on a council, you work with a group of people, you got so many diverse opinions and views that you have to find a way to communicate to all of them and really help the city or the community move forward. And I think that's where our main goal. As far as the vice mayorship, I think it's great. It's an honorable thing. But I want to say this, too. If somebody's really interested in running, wants to fill that position, I don't see it, moving around. So everybody has a least of some type of process and understands. I mean, if somebody really wants to do something, they'll work hard at it. And if somebody doesn't want to do it, it's fine. But I think if somebody really shows an interest in it, it should move around a little bit, and give everybody an opportunity that are interested in it. Not everybody wants to do it, but if some people are interested in doing it, for a year, I don't see a problem with that. It kind of gives you a flavor and understanding when you get into a business. You don't really know, but when you get thrown into something, you have a better understanding and better respect for it. So
I appreciate your opinion. The best of my knowledge, I didn't mention race. I don't know who you're referring to, but I don't think I said a word about race.
It was Vice Mayor Johnson on that part. It's what he was what our caller was talking about when they moved him on.
Yeah, when he didn't put him back in, he brought the race issue up. But I've got something else I'd like to talk about if we can move on.
Sure.
Well, now, wait a minute. We've got a guest here that you want to ask
ask him a question.
Guest?
Well, I want to say something about him, what he'd talked about.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Can business and all that. I thought the reason that they had a thing where that you had to have your recycling business in a certain zoning area, I thought that was the problem. But let me say this while I'm on here, what I'd try to do, I'd try to go down there, work close to, apparently he used to have his can business, and get with that guy that's got that auto junk place that was grandfathered in, and I'd go in there and make a deal with him and put my can business right there with him. He's got plenty of acreage right there, and just move it a little bit. It's unfortunate that the can man went down there and paid a lot for that property and all that, and then find himself in this situation. I hope something can be worked out for him. I know what's happening. The competition wants him to go out of business so they can get more business. And I appreciate you taking my call, and I'll hush.
All right. Appreciate it, caller.
Thank you, caller. All right. Well, I guess I'm curious about your business, Larry. Tell us a little bit more about Can It and what you guys actually do.
And what the benefits are.
Yeah.
Can It Recycling has been around since 1991. Thousands upon thousands of Cleveland residents have come down there and been treated very fairly over the years, and they continue to come down there. And I can't even begin to tell you the outrage there's going to be if the council finally gets their way to close us down. I don't think that's going to happen because I've got a few aces in the hole that I haven't, cards that I haven't played yet.
What does Can It do?
Can It Recycling recycles metals. We buy aluminum cans, we buy copper, brass, we buy steel, we buy everything except cars. We don't get into cars. We don't get into things that can tarnish the ground. I don't want the property to be full of oil and be full of contaminants. So we stay away from that, and we just buy things that we can manage.
Do cars even have metal in them anymore? I mean,
What's that?
do cars even have metal in them anymore?
Mostly plastic now.
Well, they got oil. That's the problem. They got oil and they got different
Transmission fluid too. Yeah.
Okay, so those are kind of tough. Plus the fact we're kind of small and we really can't physically handle that large material. But we have done things for a long, long time. If you would look online and see what our rating is, it's a 4.5 out of 5. My competitor is a 1.5 out of 5. And those are facts. That's nothing I just made up. But you can go online and check that right now. We're very well received. We're very fair. And I have a huge following that may or may not get out to vote. I don't know. We're going to find out in a few days. But we've done this a long time, and I think it's totally unfair. And I want to say one thing about what the fellow said and what I said. I did not dispute that we were out of line when it comes to the law. I also want to say that the city's been out of line for 25 years with the law, not informing us or telling us until there's a complaint. My gripe was this: we should have been given 5 years to make the transition, and because of political pressure, it was pushed down to 2, which put a lot of pressure on us to recover, which we have not been able to do. 3 years is all that's left to make this whole thing go away. If the council would reconsider and use the zoning commission's recommendation to begin with, instead of listening to one councilman, we wouldn't be here today, and we could be out of this tomorrow. I'm not asking that we be allowed to stay open forever, although I think it'd be fair if we did. We need 3 more years to financially regroup, so when we retire, my wife and I will not be in duress. I don't think that's asking a lot.
Larry Bagata, candidate for City Council at Large, has been in studio with us today. We appreciate you coming in today, Larry, and giving us an insight into your candidacy and why you're running, and thank you very much.
Larry, one last thing. Do you want to tell the listeners how they can contact you or where your business is at? If they want to get involved with your campaign, this is the time to do it right now. We'll give you a spot on it.
Everybody knows where I am. I'm at 1700 South Lee Highway. I've been there for 6 years. We've been in Cleveland for almost 30. If you'd like to come out and help, you're certainly welcome. The number there is 47. You can just get online, put www.canitrecycling.com. You can get all our information, our phone number, and whatever else you might need. But we appreciate your support, and I'd like to see some changes take place next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And recycling is a very, very important thing. And the city of Cleveland used to have a recycling program, and I guess didn't make it for a while, but perhaps we'll get it back going again one of these days. But Larry Bagata, candidate for City Council at Large,
yes,
in studio with us today.
Appreciate him coming in and sharing his views on that. So,
I was always curious. I kept hearing allusions to the discontent that was out there, and I'm